Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is Wacky Wednesday, and we've got SHTF all over the place. It's so wacky of a Wednesday, Jolene thought it was Thursday, and she initially signed it up as just that. But no, it's Wednesday. Sorry, Jolene, the weekend is not here, not yet. Folks, it has hit the fan. I was thinking this morning, was I a little too dark at 0 dark 30? And then I realized, no, it's not. I'm going to detail some things for you, but this is your show also. Like the Sunday Night Live Zoo with YouTube, the club, and Subscribestar, this is for premium members only. To put your questions down below in the comments, Man will flip them around, put them up on the screen for the second half of the show. I'll do my monologue, which covers a bunch of action today. And a lot of it's very suspicious. A lot of it's very obvious. And all of it is SHTF. Now, let us start with, well, let's do it. Let's call it our top story. I want to know, right, what you think of this. Make this your question and comment, your 2 cents, if you will. Well, hell, we got to do some inflation, right? How about $10.02? Anyways, the House Oversight Committee, who has been investigating Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, international, what would we call this? Tax fraud, grifting, bribery, extortion, dirty business, or treason. $20 million in payments, folks, went into Hunter Biden's bank records, his bank account. That money was transferred from Russia and from Kazakhstan. Officials, folks, officials. That means government institutions, government employees were transferring money into Hunter Biden's account. And trust me, yes, Joe was involved. How could the vice president not be involved when his son is dealing with international governments? How is this not criminal? How is this not treasonous? And at the very least, how is this not impeachment worthy? It's high crimes and misdemeanors. This is far more than a misdemeanor, folks. Taking $20 million from foreign governments. Where do I sign up for that? How do I get that job? Someone hire me to go over there and say, hey, I would like $20 million. Can you transfer that into my account, please? Why isn't that enough money for these people just to shut up and go away? No, they've got to stay in politics and continue to screw us all over again and again and again and again and again. Folks, are you prepared for what's coming next? Let's see. $20 million in payments have been exposed. I guess we need to come up with at least 4, maybe 14 more criminal indictments against Trump to cover this up. This is absolutely mind-boggling, folks. Yeah, wacky Wednesday. If that isn't wacky, folks, I feel like I've been whacked upside the head and down the other. Let's continue. Did you know, are you aware that since Joe Biden abandoned $85 billion in equipment, that since Joe Biden abandoned American private citizens in Afghanistan, since Joe Biden abandoned his allies in Afghanistan, all with no warning to the people or our allies or anyone else. He just handed it on over to the Taliban. Afghanistan, here you go. And he told tens of thousands of Americans, find your own way home. You're on your own. Our brothers and sisters in the military were abandoned, as far as I'm concerned, when they allowed a terrorist to drive a bomb up to the gate and destroy it and kill servicemen and women. You know what's happened since then? Joe Biden has sent another $2.35 billion to the Taliban. You bet. Since then, he has added even more money. Why? Why, and why? What for? Why are we sending them cash? Fucking why is a great question, don't you think? I'm not being overly dramatic. I'm not trying to win that coveted Oscar award. In fact, Joe Biden gets the horse's ass award for this. Yes, he does. Just why? Let us know. Tell us. What have they done? They're not an ally of ours. Why do they get $2.35 billion? Why? Someone answer that, please. Not the phone. Answer that question. It's just 0 cents. It makes 0 cents, but it makes $2.35 billion of sense to the people. How much of that is going back to Joe? Can I ask that question? Yeah, I think that's safe to ask. Joe's on the phone. Hey, Mahmoud, good to talk to you. Okay, we transferred the money to the Taliban National Bank. Listen, Mahmoud, I'm the big guy. Okay, remember that, Mahmoud. Don't you play any games with me, or I'll drone strike your family and take out your goats. That's right, the really pretty ones with the long eyelashes. Now listen, Mahmoud, I'm the big guy and I get my 10%. That's right. 10% is, listen, 2.35 billion, 10% of that is $235 million. Send it to my numbered account. Not mine, Hunter's, because Hunter's my fall guy. Don't you worry about that. Once Hunter gets the money, he can transfer wherever he wants. It's none of your business, Mahmoud. Bye. Seriously. Unfucking believable. I'm not buying that this is just regular business. Really? Really? You want wacky, folks. Crazy. You want wacky? I'm going to give it to you. Joe Biden is shooting his lips off at a speech at the Grand Canyon. Number one, he had to brush a bug off of the chest of the reporter who was interviewing her. Yeah, you got a bug there, honey. Let me just kind of fondle you a little. Nice job, Joe. He got confused and lost a little bit. And then he had this to say. Here's a Joe Biden golden moment. Quote, we're preparing the military by trying to deal with the climate stuff. We're preparing the military by trying to deal with the climate stuff. Folks, climate stuff. Climate stuff. What is climate stuff? Now let's just assume that he's just he's there, right? It's right. It wasn't hard to get there. He's batotted. Let's just assume that he could read the teleprompter or his cue cards properly. And he should have said, we're preparing the military by training to deal with the climate change. with the climate crisis. Words to that effect seem like they would be much more appropriate for the President of the United States pushing his green bullshit agenda. So let's take away the Biden gaffe and just examine the premise. Examine the premise. The military is training, and they normally train for wars, but now we're going to train for climate stuff. How, right, does the military train for climate crisis? Isn't the military there to shoot and blow shit up? That's the military, right? Bombs, rockets, missiles, right? Bullets. So the military is training for war. It means we will go to war against climate change. The military is going to attack the climate with guns and bombs. Or maybe, folks, they're going to go after people, nations who are causing the climate change, who are causing the climate crisis. Is this what Joe was actually trying to allude to? If Joe was bright enough to allude to anything. So third world nations who are trying to grow into emerging markets. They don't have extra money laying around to buy air scrubbers. They can't afford to buy the best, cheapest, cleanest energy. In fact, they're lucky to get third-hand, hand-me-down power producing equipment from countries like Brazil. So third world nations, folks, are the real climate change, greenhouse gas, carbon producers, right? Will the United States government in Washington, D.C., will the United States government make the Army and Marines invade other third world nations for climate violations, for harming the environment, for threatening the health of the planet? Is that what he's saying? Is that the new enemy is going to be climate crisis and climate change inducing nations? And is the United States government going to go from being the terror or anti-terror police to the climate cops? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when Joe comes for you? Good God. Wacky Wednesday, folks. There's just a lot of stuff I just don't buy. I don't buy it. Folks. Right now in Hawaii, Maui is on fire. The island of Maui, the beautiful island of Maui. In order to get away from the flames, Maui is burning, folks. People actually had to jump into the ocean to get away from the wildfires, the heat, the smoke. And the town that is on fire is Lahaina. Lahaina is on the southwest coast of the smaller portion of Maui. If anyone's ever been to Maui, they know exactly where Lahaina is. Lahaina, historic Lahaina town is destroyed. Front Street is destroyed. It's where all the cool businesses, shops, restaurants. It's along the waterfront. There's a huge banyan tree that takes up a whole city block. The marina's right there. Now, this is what Hawaii News Now has reported. Okay, hang on to your hats. And think back to the Paradise Fire in California. Think to the Canadian fires. So, Hawaii News Now. Eyewitnesses described an apocalyptic scene Tuesday in Lahaina town, where residents were forced to jump into the harbor waters to avoid fast-moving flames from a massive brush fire that's destroyed much of the historic area, and it continues to burn. Residents say an overwhelmed fire force, meaning fire department, fighting flames all day amid powerful winds, could do little as flames ripped through the historic community, destroying dozens of homes and businesses in what onlookers believe is the worst natural disaster in Hawaii's history since Hurricane Iniki. Folks, I don't buy it. I've been to Lahaina. I've spent 20 days in and around Lahaina, driving there, touring the countryside, doing jungle excursions. And no, that's not where the RMZ was. I was not in Maui. I've been touring the rainforests, right, all around there. Now, I know it can get dry in Lahaina because of its location, and there are microclimates all over Hawaii, folks, but this is ridiculous, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Lahaina is a small city, but it's a city. It has streets, it has asphalt, it has homes, it has businesses, it has fire department. It's not covered in dense, wild brush. It's like a fucking city. It's got houses and streets and gardens and yards. It's not a dry forest. It's not a dry jungle. It's not a jungle at all. Lahaina has been there, folks, for hundreds of years. Literally. Right? It was a fishing town. Especially the last 100 years, it's been just a metropolis of old-fashioned fun. It looks like parts of it looked like California Old West mining towns, the style of building. That's how long those buildings have been there. A lot of them since the 1800s. It's not a dry jungle. There's no reason. Now, I understand acceleration zones and winds that come down off of the mountains. I just don't buy it being natural, folks. I don't. Or this would have happened before. This would have happened years ago. This would have happened every 10 years if this was a natural event. If this were natural, it would have happened before. Here we are, 100, 200 years after Lahaina town was built. You think 100 years ago they had roads and streets and fire departments the way we do now? No, it was much more sparsely populated. It was much more subject to the elements. And it's expanded and it has grown. In fact, when I was there last, they were putting in a bypass highway that was even closer to the hillside and jungles. It's just crazy. I'm not buying it, folks. I think this is horseshit and bullshit. And once again, right? Once again, everything is done for a reason. I'm just not buying it. I've been there, folks. I would have moved to Lahaina if I had the money. It is such a cool little place. I'm just not buying it. And another thing I'm just not buying it, is in Russia. A factory just outside of Moscow exploded. A huge mushroom cloud. I thought, wow, what factory exploded in Moscow? Well, it's an optical mechanical factory, of course. It's in SHTF Posad, which is a suburb. It's just outside of Moscow. A massive explosion occurred. The plant is a leading developer and manufacturer of optical and optoelectronic devices for law enforcement, industry, and healthcare. It is not an explosives factory. It is not a munitions factory. It is not a fertilizer plant. It is not a nuclear weapons facility. But according to authorities, this explosion damaged up to 20 apartment buildings that surrounded it. So I want to know how. How did an optical factory explosion damage so many adjacent buildings and create a mushroom cloud, folks, that looked like the atomic bomb at Hiroshima? Makes no sense to me. I'm not buying this story either. It's all too wacky. There are no coincidences, not in my book. I've been subjected to too many coincidences. Too many. You want some more? You want some wacky? You want wacky? I'll give you wacky, folks. Are you prepared? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Do you have your plan? Do you know what you're doing? Do you have a flashlight? Do you have it together? Folks, in Utah, a 75-year-old man, 75, he unfortunately and unlawfully posted threats against President Biden. Ooh, how dare you post violent threats against the president? Well, this 75-year-old man was killed during the FBI raid of his place. I got a couple questions for you. Number one, is this staged? Was this event created? Is it a psyop, a psychological operation to make Republicans and conservatives look and sound violent and crazy? Or has the violence begun? Have older Republicans who have nothing left to live for, nothing to lose, are they going to start saying what they mean, and will they shortly thereafter mean what they say if they say that violence is going to occur? I am not telling anyone to do anything violent or recommend anyone threaten anyone. No, I'm a nice guy. But this 75-year-old man, apparently, his cheese slipped off the cracker. And the FBI showed up at his house, and now he's dead. Has the violence begun? Why didn't the FBI arrest and kill every single Democrat who threatened President Trump, who threatened Trump's children? Why not? How many people were arrested for threatening Trump? I can't remember any. But how dare you threaten doddering old fool of a man, Joe Biden? I really have, if I was to take a guess, folks, I would say it's a psyop, and it was a staged event. I believe that over Republicans have finally had enough, and they're going to start fighting back. I don't think Republicans have had enough shit yet. I think Republicans, conservatives, freedom-loving Americans have to eat a whole lot more shit. We're not full yet. We're not done. We're not done. I'm not missing all of the meals in a week. Therefore, I don't think I've suffered enough. Not that I want to miss meals, and not that I want to suffer, folks. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. This is where we're at. Wow. I've got a few more minutes of my talking, folks, and then it's going to be your turn. Please get your comments down below for Mr. Uman. Now, I'm going to give Americans another warning. Americans who are in Niger. Now, Niger, of course, is the country where a military coup has removed the so-called legitimate government, and it is a military coup. Only the military coup is not being stage managed by the CIA. You know, that's kind of what we expect, kind of like with Ukraine, when the CIA stage managed that coup back in 2013. Yep, they took over Ukraine, folks, but not Niger. No, see, they had control of Niger. It was a puppet regime already in place, and both the United States and France were taking advantage of cheap Nigerian labor and pillaging and ransacking Niger's resources. Now, a free Niger would benefit more. Oh, by the way, yes, Niger is also the world's largest producer of oil. Surprise! Are you surprised? So this is going on. Now, look at this. This is an interesting development. Let me do some chin scratching. Yeah, Americans in Niger have been told, warned by the government, the U.S. government, shelter in place because airspace and the borders are closed. What does that mean, folks? Shelter in place. What that means is huddle in your fucking closet and pray no one finds you. Right? That's what kids are told. Well, there's an active shooter in school. Shelter in place. Oh, there's a pandemic. Everyone stay home and shelter in place. Shelter in place means tuck your head between your legs and kiss your own ass goodbye, because there ain't nothing else you can do. And so that's what the government told everyone in Niger. Kiss your ass goodbye and hope no one finds you, because you can't get out. You can't take a plane ride. You can't come across the border. Afghanistan Abandonment Part 2, the Nigerian Connection. That's what this is, folks. It's the Nigerian version of Afghanistan. Only instead of the United States of America government, aka the U.S. Washington, D.C. government, abandoning Americans, this time it was, well, the U.S. government abandoning Americans. Where are the rescue teams? Where are they? Helicopters, cargo jets. Why hasn't the military flown in, taken an airbase, taken an airport? Actually, folks, they had air bases. They had airports. Why don't they have them now? Why is the airspace closed? Is Niger so sophisticated that the United States government cannot fly in with supersonic jets, take out their radar systems, any air defense system, with their electronics or weapons, missiles, rockets, and allow large transport jets, you know, the kind they used to evacuate tens of thousands of Afghanis, but not Americans, and of course transplant them to the United States of America soil proper so that they can molest children. Why can't they fly in jets and get our American people out of Niger? Or is Niger not sophisticated and Biden is just abandoning Americans again? There's really no reason to abandon there unless it looks like this coup d'etat is going to stick. It's not just an attempt at takeover, folks, right? It looks like it's a fait accompli, to quote the French, right? It's an accomplished fate. It's done. It's over. Stick a fork in it. It's cooked. Niger now belongs to a military dictator, not a military dictator. And it's a military dictator that's in charge who is more favorable to work with the Russians. And that also means that he'll be working with the Chinese. Interesting, no? Well, one side works with France and the US government. The other side wants to work with Russia and China. Making sense yet? And how much of America is produced in China and shipped here for us to enjoy? I've learned my lesson, folks. I know exactly what's going on and who's on whose side. Now, on this Wacky Wednesday, I want to end on a positive note. Representative Matt Gaetz has introduced, quote, National Prayer in School Act to defend religious freedom. I say write Matt Gaetz and write your congressman and support freedom of religion and freedom of expression in our schools. Oh, hey, the fruit salad fruitcakes, the fruit salad peeps, they get to celebrate themselves and practice and say what they want. Why shouldn't children be able to practice what they want? So I'm sure it's possible that in Congress, rather the House of Representatives, that the Republicans could pass this. Well, if Kevin McCarthy allows it to come to the floor, the Senate wouldn't approve it, and obviously Joe Biden wouldn't approve it, even though he is supposed to be a freaking Catholic. National Prayer in School Act. No, but you can have after-school Satan clubs at your child's school, but hey, don't you dare support freedom of religion and expression in a school. I mean, that's akin to free speech in the First Amendment. We can't have that. These fucking people, folks. All right, it's now time for the inner circle. I want your questions, thoughts, ideas, and concepts. Let's get to it. And Mr. T, I still have not had a free freaking moment to get the new videos, the new transition pieces, everything you've done. Uman can attest that I get here with about 3 freaking minutes before the show starts every week. Good golly, we're all busting our asses just so we can pay taxes to a government that hates us. Just killing me. Yeah, I tell you, folks, this country is being run by fossils. Fossils. Their ideas that they're using in the Democrat Party are ancient, washed up bullshit ideas. Did you know that Marxism is 200 years old plus? Karl Marx invented this shit they're still pushing, socialism, over 200 years ago. And 90-year-old, folks, she's 90 years old, Dianne Feinstein. Senator Feinstein is 90 years old. She's almost half as old as communism, and it still doesn't work, Senator. If she could understand me, and she can't. Well, anyways, she tripped and fell in San Francisco, and now she's hospitalized. Folks, fossils belong in museums. They don't belong in positions of authority. I am over the hill now, for fuck's sake. But there's a point when you should not be allowed to hold office. If you have dementia, if you're doddering. But it's interesting to me that people like Feinstein, people like Biden, people like Mitch McConnell will not let go of their power. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, bitch had cancer for how many years? Falls asleep in court, in Congress, wherever she was, she just fucking fall asleep. Wouldn't give up her power. They're so greedy and selfish. They can't give up their power and control. Fucking assholes, I tell you. They don't trust the youths to make the right decision. All of us young people under the age of 70. Fuck. Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about, man. Let's do some questions. On this Wacky Wednesday, it's Charles Gentry. And he said, wonder how much sacrificing 20 years of American money, energy, and lives netted the traitors. We clearly no longer have any military that follows, let alone upholds the Constitution. Biden walking around Marines without fear tells the tale. Let's start with the first part of your story, Charles. Back to the first. How much sacrificing 20 years of American money, energy, and lives netted the traitors? I think fighting in Afghanistan to try and take that country and fix it, we spent at least, I'm going to throw a number out, man. You can nod or not nod. I think it was $5 trillion total, thereabouts. Can't be too certain overall spending, but maybe it was only 3 trillion. Let's just say it was just 1 trillion. Well, let's just assume that Joe Biden wasn't the only one. That between all of the scumbags who are in charge of the government, they got their 10%. That's $100 billion if it was only 1 trillion that was spent there. So $100 billion split amongst all the scumbags in power in Washington. That sounds about right. Now, man, if I may, can I see the second part of Charles Gentry's comments, if you don't mind? He says, we clearly no longer have any military that follows, let alone upholds the Constitution. I have to disagree with you here. I think that the military or portions of it follow and uphold the Constitution. I recently visited Marine Corps base, as you know. Additionally, a certain sergeant major I know has contacted me and let me know that the military, the infantry, in other words, the fighting men within the military. There's a lot of people in the military, folks, who have held a rifle and even qualified with it, but don't carry one as a tool for every day. Hell, I didn't carry a rifle every day either, but you know, Marines are all riflemen first. Anyways, I believe a lot of the military, Charles, does uphold the Constitution and follow it. There are, however, communists in there. There are, however, fruit salad folks in there. The Pentagon is loaded with sexual perverts, deviants, and scumbags in uniform. They are there, no doubt. But the men who hold rifles, who are trained to take out an enemy, they are good men. And they know who they are. They know if they're American, they know if they're anti-American. They know who they are. They know if they're traitors, if they hate the Constitution, if they hate freedoms and you, regular American. They know who they are too. Now, Biden walking around Marines without fear tells the tale. I'll tell you what that tells me, Charles. Now, you're saying walking around Marines. The only Marines I know Biden walks around are the military guard in Washington, D.C., at the White House. Their job is to stand there and protect the president and the office, the White House. That's their job. Their job is not to follow Biden. Their job is not to enforce the Constitution. Their job is not to uphold the Constitution. Their job is to stand there and make the president look presidential with their discipline. That's what they're there for. Now, once again, those are Marines and they are trained to kill. But they're not serving Biden. They're serving the country. They're serving you and I. And they're obeying the Constitution. Until Biden is declared a traitor, they will do their job. Until Biden is declared a criminal and he needs to be arrested, they're going to do their job. I won't besmirch them for that. I will, however, feel sorry and sad that good U.S. Marines and good soldiers are having to serve under this administration and around these absolute scumbags. It's got to be difficult. It does. Now, if I have read my news stories correctly, Charles, the Marine Corps is the only branch of the service that is meeting its recruiting goals. Because the men and women that join the Marine Corps are, by and large, very much patriotic. I'm not saying there are not fruitcakes and fruit salad eaters in the Marine Corps, because they're there. They are there. And there are traitors to this country within the Marine Corps in the Pentagon. They are there. I have no doubts. There are people that would rather serve the deep state and their masters. And I'm sure Quantico has its share of them. That's just the way it is, folks. We live in strange times, wacky times, if you will. But I know that there are good men in the Army and good men in the Marine Corps. And they are there. And it gives me great satisfaction and heart knowing they continue to train despite the attempts of Lloyd the Loser Austin and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the President of the United States, Joe Biden, POS, because they want to destroy this country. But men want to be Marines and serve their other people, their neighbors, their countrymen. That's why they're there. And I'll stand by that. I'll stand by the fact that there are good Marines and soldiers still. Let us move on if we shall. Name redacted. Oh, he's speaking of Maui. He says it's arson like everywhere else. Same op playbook like Operation COVID. You know what? I'll tell you what, name redacted. I'm going to agree with you that it's arson in Maui. But what kind of arson? I've seen too much. When Santa Rosa burned to the ground, but same with Paradise in California. it almost seems like there is some sort of accelerant that is used, some sort of other things at play with directed energy weapons, or whether it's some other accelerant that helps. Now, I mean, growing up, folks, when I was a kid, we had these Santa Ana winds that caused brush fires in Southern California. Not mountainous fires, brush fires, because of these Santa Ana winds. Those were discussed, but it's nothing like what's happening now. Nothing like what's happening now. Oakland Hills, when that caught on fire, Oakland Hills are covered in oaks, trees, overgrown in such a way that the trees were huge. And fire is interesting, folks, and terrible. Kind of like government. It's a fearful servant and a terrible master if it gets a hold of you. Yeah, I believe it's arson, or shall we say human related. Thank you, Name Redacted, very much. I'm glad everyone is nice, happy, not out of our minds crazy with what's going on this Wacky Wednesday. Mr. Uman, where do we want to roll next? Mikey G says, could it be directed energy weapons? I really believe it is possible. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that directed energy weapons exist. There's evidence to suggest that they were used as part of Operation 9/11. There were detonations during 9/11. Right, there was explosives used in the basement. There were explosions in the basement before those buildings came down. There was just thermite used. There's all kinds of different stuff. But also, it was interesting how there were vehicles in and around the Twin Towers that were half scorched, cooked, and the other half of the vehicle would be fine. I mean, how can something be hot enough that it'll bake the paint and tires off of a car, but just another couple inches away, the paint is fine? In Northern California at the Paradise Fire, there were steel buildings that were just melted to the ground. And 50 feet away, there was a tree, unhurt, unsinged. Many, many examples of these directed energy weapon potentials. I'm not a physicist, so I can't speak authoritatively beyond saying, what I understand as a normal human being. What we see out there doesn't make any sense. And I don't want to hear, yeah, see, you're stupid, John. Well, you see, the same theoretical physicist will tell you that the Lee Harvey Oswald magic bullet theory, it's viable. It's possible. One bullet hitting two men 7 different times and taking over 4 seconds to get the job done, entering and exiting the body and creating several wounds, and then ending up on a stretcher that no one laid on in pristine condition, the magic bullet. That's really believable, huh? Magic bullet theory. Theoretical physicists, they'll tell you all about it. Theoretical scientists, I can tell you that it's bullshit. I don't need a degree for that. So if I want to look at and examine natural physics and then say, is there more going on here? Directed energy weapons, Mikey? Definite possibility. I don't like to see it used, and I wonder why they picked on Lahaina. All right. Thank you, sir. Hey, Mr. Uman, let's move on, shall we? What else we got out there? We've got, drum roll, please. Charles Gentry says, hey, supposedly there's mass wildfires that have broken out near simultaneously across Russia. Just caught a quick blurb on another channel. How dare you watch another channel, Charles? That sounds like something that Dabu 7 would do. That is, report on the fires. Yeah, this thing about fires simultaneously breaking out. That is something that's got my attention as well, and something I've caught in the past. is that fires, they'll break out in 5 or 6 places all at once. Now, in nature, fires are started by lightning, and I've seen it. I lived in a very large valley way up north in Northern California. It was an agricultural valley, so it had a flat floor in it, and it was bordered by mountains. And you could see lightning strikes, and then you could see smoke coming. And folks, I saw that one time. Lightning strike, fire, right? Literally 7-8 miles across the valley over to that location. Saw the smoke, called the fire department. About 10-15 minutes later, a plane comes in, dumps a load of fire retardant on it. Fire is out. That is how that is supposed to work. That was back in 2006. Yeah, back when they used to put out fires, not light them and go, ooh, look at that. Anyways, yeah, simultaneously, I could see that lightning, if there was a lot of dry lightning or summer lightning, depends on what you want to call it, going off in a mountainous area, you could have several fires lit near simultaneously because of, lightning strikes. I can see that. We're going to find out, folks, exactly how willing the government, the deep state, the World Economic Forum, the powers that be, are they willing to go scorched earth in a very literal sense? We're going to find out. All right, Mr. Uman, let's keep on rolling. We have Uman. Uh-oh. Uman says they must have lost that technology along with the directions to the moon. What are we talking about? I'll tell you, folks. They had telemetry tapes, computer tapes. Back before they had hard drives and before they had, SD cards that hold more information than you can believe. They had tapes, and the computers stored their information on tapes. Now, this is fascinating. It's fascinating. They had math equations that told them how to get a rocket from here on Earth all the way to the moon, and those were telemetry tapes, much like we would have a computer disk today. Telemetry, math. And NASA, in its wisdom, a few years back, decided to destroy all those telemetry tapes. At about the same time that, the flat earthers and the NASA hoaxsters were really getting some ground, saying, you know what, whatever's going on out there, you guys are lying about it. So the government, because they were being asked, how did you get through the Van Allen radiation belts? Well, we lost the telemetry tapes. We don't know how to do it. They didn't use computers back then. They used slide rules and handheld calculators to do the math to get to the moon. Were people just smarter back then? Well, anyways, they lost the tapes. They lost all of that data. They lost the technology that they used 50 plus years ago. 55 years ago, they had technology that made aluminum foil capable not only to withstand micrometeoroids, basically sand particles in space that would blow right through a rocket ship at 20,000 miles an hour, because they're going 20,000 miles per hour, but they're still a sand particle. Somehow they had aluminum foil that could repel that and solar radiation. They could make stuff like that back then, and they could fly a rocket to the moon with some hand calculations. But now NASA, one, doesn't know how to do it, plus they destroyed the tapes. I'm not buying any of this shit, right? I am not whacked out of my mind. They are whacked out of their minds if they think I'm going to believe their shit. Let's do this. Let's do some more stuff, man. What do you got next, man? Pull a rabbit out of your hat. What do we want to talk about? What's on the board? We got Village Idiot checking in. Says, oh yeah, how come they don't arrest the Democrats? They couldn't afford to pay all the overtime. Right. Imagine that. Right now, there are several Democrats being charged with various crimes, from embezzlement to election fraud to murder, all manner of crimes. Yeah, Democrat politicians, you bet. You bet. Remember, it wasn't too long ago that in Vegas, Nevada, right, they had a Democrat kill his rival. Unbelievable what these politicians will do. If they actually tried arresting every criminal Democrat, there's not enough space in the jails for it. They can't afford to pay all the overtime to the prosecutors and judges if you could find decent ones. They're going to have a great culling of the scum. It means a lot of good people are going to be extinguished along with it. I think it's coming, folks. This whole idea, the Deagle numbers of dropping from 350 million back down to 100 million, that's just in the United States. Imagine the culling in Europe. What makes you think it can't happen? And I'm not even talking about nuclear war, folks. Not even talking about nuclear war. Just the people going apeshit. Like with withholding and reserving food, keeping people from food, pitting people against one another, taking away their wealth, their lives. How much you want to bet that it's possible? How much you want to bet that it's possible that we could have a great culling, and every one of these scumbags out here would be known for their scumbaggery by people around them. Oh, the Democrats, they would be hunted. The Republicans, likewise, would be hunted by their political enemies. And folks, on the local level, by the way, the local level, I've dealt with local politics. They are just as scummy. And it doesn't matter what party they are at that point. You can really tell at the local level that it is the corruption knows no political party. It doesn't. It truly doesn't. Good men or women in politics, it is a very rare thing. A very rare thing. By the way, speaking of local politics, in Tampa, Florida, the mayor there was out fishing with his family, fishing, and caught a whopper, a huge ass fish. The mayor of Tampa snagged a 70-pound giant cocaine fish. I bet if the mayor didn't have his family witnessing this, he'd have probably tucked the 70-pound bag of cocaine into his fishing creel and just carried it home. Nobody saw nothing. And folks, I don't know who the mayor of Tampa is, and I couldn't give a shit. Whether or not they would keep the coke, I don't know. And it's just a funny joke. But talk about the catch of the day. Hey, waiter. Oh, what did they pull out of the sea today? I'd like to try whatever's fresh caught. Well, dude, try a couple lines of this. The mayor just pulled it out of the bay. Yikes. 70 pounds of cocaine. $1.1 million. It sounds like the mayor of Tampa just hit the lotto. What cracks me up is I love how they ascribe a street value, a dollar value to the cocaine. It's not like the city can take the $1.1 million in cocaine and go deposit it in a bank and get $1.1 million for it. It's not like the government, well, at least they shouldn't, start selling the drugs on the street. You go, we need the money. Let's just go sell that coke on the street. Government coke. Everyone can have it. Wow. Just crazy. Oh, man. Talking about blowing a good time. Blow. Okay, man, what do we got? We got Red Arrow Tinker checking in. He says, I wonder whether this climate stuff, that's Joe Biden's words for the climate crisis and the climate stuff. I wonder whether this climate stuff training for the military will teach them how to raid vegetable farms, shoot cattle, and bomb chicken coops. Oh, wait, it set fire to chicken coops. Bomb, fire, you bet. I know that this is humor, it's satire. We're being sardonic. We're being smartasses. But folks, think about it. Have you ever seen more backwards ass thinking and morality in your fucking life than what we've seen the last 5 years out of the Democrats, the freaking fruit salad, freaky ass perverts, the anti-military, anti-law, anti-country, anti-education, child grooming, bunch of sick fucks in government. So training the military to burn down, to destroy farms. Look what they're doing in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam zone. They're killing the dairy industry. They're killing the farming industry because it's polluting the world. Making food for people and animals is killing the world. Shoot cattle, you bet they're farting everywhere because they eat vegetables and poop out carbon dioxide. You shoot the cow, nothing eats the vegetable fall over and die, or the vegetation. And without the cow as the middleman, rotting vegetation produces carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, carbon. Carbon is neither made nor destroyed. That's it. Fucking ridiculous people. And then chicken coops, of course. Always picking on the chickens. Ray Bradbury wrote a book called Fahrenheit 451. At 451 degrees, paper combusts. It will burst into flames at 451 degrees. So he wrote this book called Fahrenheit 451. You know what happened? The government burned books. No books were allowed. Not a book for or against anything was allowed. No books. If you had a book and the government found out about it, guess who they would send to come and fix the book problem? Firemen. Only in the book Fahrenheit 451, firemen started fires. They didn't put them out. So why not in Biden's fucked up fantasy world, his wacky world, why wouldn't Biden attack farms and attack food with the military? Makes the most sense, right? Those farms, those cattle, those chickens, those pigs. Why don't we just drop nuclear bombs in the ocean and kill all the fish too? Because they're living things. We don't want people eating them. I tell you, the madness, folks, the fucking madness is unbelievable. It just is, right? And some people have had it in Congress. Now, Congressman Chip Roy, who I believe is Chin Music's representative. Chip Roy has gone scorched earth without starting a fire. He told Biden he can go straight to hell. Quote, go straight to hell, end quote, over the border crisis. He says, we're allowing that to happen on our watch. No more. That's my message. Folks, this is interesting. If you had the authority to fix problems and you're a good person and you're being stopped, it's maddening. Chip Roy is there along with other congressmen who are decent and good, trying to stop the scumbaggery that's going on. And they're being stopped. So congressmen and other officials, good government officials, they're out there, folks. It's just we only hear from the bad ones, right? Every congressman and every senator should feel like Chip Roy and say, go straight to hell, Biden. No more of this shit. Now, folks, this attitude is changing. So some old Republican in Utah, 75-year-old man, decided he's going to start threatening Biden, and the FBI visited him and shot him. That's happening. Congressmen like Chip Roy, they're getting pissed off and they're speaking up, and they should. They should. Because after that comes action. Know what is coming, folks. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours.